We are live. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everyone. I don't see myself yet, but...
Can everybody let me know if the sound is okay for both me and Brian? Be great if you could do that.
Can you hear me, everyone?
Got 22 people in the room already.
We promoted it well.
We have promoted it very well. We'll say hello to everyone in just a moment. Just want to make sure everything's working okay. But if everyone can just let us know. All's good, apparently. Can hear you both, so that's great. Right, so firstly, thank you to Brian. If you've not known of Brian's page before, he's got an amazing Instagram page, and I've left Brian's details in the link below. I would imagine a lot of people are here more for Brian than they are for me because of his page.
Definitely not. Definitely not. We have all the usual suspects in the chat, I see, so...
Yeah, we've got a lot of good people in there already. But thanks for popping along. We're going to have a fun stream. There's no real concept in terms of, there's no structure to the stream, but the main subject is going to be how to grow your Instagram pages. And I feel that although me and Brian probably don't know everything there is to know, we won't claim that for one moment. But what we do know is how we've grown our pages, and we can give you some insights as to what's worked for us and what we feel are great strategies and ideas to help you grow your page if that's what you want to do. Now, just to get it out there, it's not going to be important to everybody to grow their page. Not everyone, they just want to interact with the community and share their passions, as we also do. But there are a lot of people that would like to grow their page, and we'd just like to give you some do's, some don'ts, and some tips. So the stream will go on for probably an hour or longer. We've got no time limit on this. We've both got some free time now. Yes, Brian, firstly, I've got for something. So firstly, you had a little thing designed as a thumbnail.
Yeah, definitely. With the boxing that you do, I think we should. I should promote it as a boxing match, but yeah, let's not fight today.
No fighting today. You cancelled the fight, didn't you, moments before?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it was a draw. But no, thanks again for joining me. So, Brian, do you want to introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you, where you come from, your setup at home there, what you do for a living, maybe. You can share what you want, but yeah, let's tell the guests a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Brian. I'm from the Netherlands, as you can probably hear from my accent. And, you know, I live in a little town near the Belgian border, so people often think I'm from Belgium, but I am from the Netherlands, and I see some Dutch people in the chat already, so that's good. Yeah, and you know, I live by myself with my two cats, who may or may not want to appear on camera later in the chat, but they are somewhere in the room right now. And, you know, most of my time I'm indeed at work. I'm a manager in a psychiatric facility. I've been working in psychiatry for almost a decade now, so that's definitely like the main main thing that takes up my time, aside from Instagram lately. Yeah, I'm 30 years old, and I've only been into fragrances for about a year and a half, so this is quite new for me, but I dove in head first. So.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Brian. A similar timescale to me, mate. I started my Instagram in July of 2019, so it's been about a year and a half for me too, that start of that journey. And it's about when my passion started for fragrance as well. I found myself researching a few fragrances, a few copies of things to get, because I haven't got the most amount of money, so I was trying to buy everything on a budget without my wife telling me off all the time. And so I found a few things on YouTube, and it was a good place, like Perfume, PARLOUR through Chris, and a few places to get me started. And that's where the passion started. And I started growing this little collection to a point where I found people on Instagram that were on YouTube, and it just started from there. I thought, well, I'll start my own page, and it just went from there. So what possessed you? I think that's the right word. What possessed you to do it?
Also, at the end of the day, also YouTube, but I wore the same fragrances for like 10 years in a row. I only wore 2 or 3 fragrances.
Excuse me, sorry.
We had 2 Tonys. He just cloned himself.
Excuse me. Just going to remove myself. Apologies.
Yeah, Tony trying to show all his nice angles off, but yeah, I've been wearing the same stuff for like a decade straight, and at one point I was just done with wearing the same stuff, and I started exploring, bought some samples. Basically, that's where it started for me. Got like 10, 15 samples in to try, and I wanted like 5 of them instantly. So that's where it started for me, and that's when I started looking around on the internet for, what's a good fragrance for the office, what's a good one for the summer, And yeah, I also landed on YouTube, and I started actually with Carlos's space. Rest in peace to Carlos. He was the first review I started actively watching and following. And once you go down that rabbit hole, I started there. Then I went on Base Notes, the forum, and yeah, that's where I started like sharing my thoughts, my impressions of fragrances on that forum for a couple of weeks, I think. And then I decided, why not post them on Instagram? That's where I'm at anyway with my personal account. And yeah, it took off quite quickly from there.
Excellent. It does, doesn't it? It's amazing where it goes. And what I've found interesting about your page is that we've grown at actually a fairly similar rate. You started after me and got to, not that it's a race, we know it's not, but you get to the 10K first. You do look at other pages around you, whether people like it or not, you do, and you sort of gauge how you're doing from that. Now, I always tell people that if I get jealous, I'll just tell you I'm jealous.
Definitely. I'm always jealous of some people for some reason, but it's not a problem.
And you know what? The jealousy, as long as it's not coming from a negative place, is it a bad thing?
Exactly.
It
it's
might
inspiration.
Help. I'm jealous of your setup. I'm jealous of what you're doing daily to bring your posts out. I'm not capable of that at the moment. I don't have enough knowledge personally to be able to do it. So, but I'm hoping to learn, and I'm hoping to. I've got somewhere I can take my page. I've got some improvement to be made. So, I am jealous, but I know in a really coming from a good place.
Yeah, but I think everyone has that with something. I had it with YouTube. I tried YouTube for a while, didn't really work out for me. And I saw other people, and I was like, how do they do that? And I still see that on Instagram with photography, with, the way people do certain things. It's just inspiration, I think. It's not really jealousy, but, you always have to aspire to something or someone to look up to, I think.
Yeah, 100%. Should we say hello to a few people in the chat?
Yeah, there are a lot of people in the chat.
There is, yeah. We have Stephen, we have Barry, we have Iniat, we have Catty, we have Brandon, we have Aroma Concepts in the house. Hello, thanks for joining us live stream.
Hello, everyone.
Lots and lots of people here. So thank you so much to everybody for joining and saying hi. And Matt, we have in the stream. We have Scent Hunters. Yeah, so more people than I've usually got, Brant. So you bought your fan base with. We have Mia.
Yeah, we did our best. We have definitely some people from Instagram coming over. It's just a good idea. I think I've tried to promote the chats before. The couple of live streams, especially from the UK group. Yeah. You, Claire, Talk and Review, Nigel, you all do wonderful live streams, and I've always tried to get people in there, but it's usually the same group of people, and that's also fine. But it's glad to see a couple of new faces once.
It's great. It's great to see some new faces. We have Scott, we have Heather, we have. I'm just trying to see the other names. We have Paul. If I've missed anyone, I do apologise. And Nigel, GK, Faz. We have Faz in the house. Faz on Instagram. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Trusted Nose from the UK, I think.
Yeah, we have a really big, nice crowd. We have Becca. So yeah, thanks for joining us, everyone. I really, really do appreciate you taking your Sunday evening out to come and say hi to us. But no, thank you. And cheers, everybody, by the way. I'm a bit of a cretin drinking my Carlsberg this evening.
And with my Starbucks.
In your Starbucks.
Like a basic white girl, but yeah.
Excellent. Right, so I noticed you early on, actually, you reached out to me, which I've got to thank you, and you'll know what's coming here. And it's how I think we got talking. And you know
Yeah,
what?
I think so.
It's how relationships start, I think, these sort of things that happen. And I know it happens a lot in the community. And we're going to get onto this as part of growing your page. But one of the things you did, I released a stream. I panicked through the first lockdown. With no notice, like so many. We had the announcement on the Monday night, and on the Tuesday, I was furloughed and off work. And it is a good income. It's something I rely upon to pay your mortgage and your bills. So many other people were affected the same way. So I'm not moaning about that. But one thing I was really worried about was at that time, things were starting to go quite well with the page, with my YouTube especially. Things were growing quite nicely. And I wouldn't have been able to have invested without firstly getting a job at Tesco's. And I put that out there to people saying, look, I'm not sure how frequent I'm going to be able to stream. I'm not sure what I'm going to be able to buy. It wasn't like a pleading stream. It was just, this is an update for my channel. And you reached out to me straight away and offered to send me some samples. And
yeah, that was actually, I just started watching you around that time. Probably this was quite early on, I think, for both of us. And yeah, I just started watching you, and indeed, you are, I think, the first one where I started watching live streams. And that does build a sort of a more personal connection than just seeing someone on screen too.
Yeah, well, I appreciated that, and you know what, we've spoke little bits ever since. We speak more recently, a bit more. Yeah. But I've noticed that you mentioned that you're in and supporting a lot of the UK channels and other channels as well, people that are part of a bigger group, people like Tara that's in the chat. Hi, Tara.
Yeah, they're always here.
And there's other channels as well that you support. And I see you in the chat, and everything's always light-hearted all the time. And I really like that about you. I think in the chat, you give Luke a run for his money.
Yeah, I try to, but it's hard to stop Luke when it comes to like sarcasm and dark humor. But when he's not there, I'll be a second or an alternative.
Yeah, but no, I just wanted to thank you for that, because that was really, you just started watching me, but that was our introduction over to each other. Then I started watching your YouTube channel. So do you want to just tell us what happened there? And because it's not something that you're overly comfortable with, I don't think. So
no, that's the whole thing. Like, first of all, I put a lot of time on Instagram, and people, you have to be careful that it doesn't start feeling like a job. That's basically the first advice that I can give everyone. If you want to start your page or channel, is whatever you do, it can feel like a job. You're not going to earn your living with this. Maybe a handful of people, but I certainly won't. And that shouldn't be your objective when you start doing this. So it shouldn't feel like a job either. And on Instagram, I don't mind. I like the photography. I like the interacting, the social media aspect. And obviously, like I said, I came from YouTube into this community, and I think everyone still sees YouTube as that. That holy grail. There are the big fragrance reviewers, that's where you start. So I wanted a YouTube channel, but I think in the end, it's more the idea of having that channel for me, which prompted me to do it. And I'm glad that I did, because that's the only reason I even bought a camera in the first place, Yeah. So, but I did it, and I did maybe 2 videos a week, and half of the time it was fine, and the other half I didn't even feel like making them. I wanted to have the video, and I wanted to edit the video, but I didn't want to make the video. That's the whole problem. And it was around the summertime, actually. It was a bit of a heat wave here in the Netherlands, which we never have, but it was very hot. I live in an apartment that gets very hot, and it was like 30 degrees Celsius every day. And I was sweating my ass off, and I was like, I'm not going to stand in front of this camera talking about fragrances in this weather. And that basically was the sign for me to, after a couple of weeks, I was like, I don't really feel like doing it again. I might want to start it up. Who knows? I might start it up one day. It's not that I hated everything about it, but, eventually I just thought I should stick to my guns, do what I know best. And that was Instagram for me.
Well, for me personally, watching your reviews, for one, I'm not just blowing smoke up where it doesn't belong. But I really enjoyed your reviews. They're insightful. You're honest, overly honest about stuff. And I don't mean over the top honest. I mean, like, not brutally honest, but you can tell the honesty shines through. You're passionate about it. You live it. I can tell it's a massive part of your life when you talk about it. So
Yeah,
me personally, when I watch your videos, I think they're fantastic, and there are a lot, and I don't mean this in a bad way to anyone's watching. It's not aimed at anybody. There are a lot worse people doing this, mate, than you standing in the camera and talking
but
about.
it's also the time that you put in. I kind of, when like I said, I like the live streams the most. I kind of like the more uncut, raw, heat of the moment things more than the well prepared, well executed videos myself.
Yeah.
And that's weird because on the other hand, I'm not comfortable with doing that as much. This is the first time I went live in over a year. I did my videos quite well prepared, especially because of the language. I wanted to have like smooth flowing videos. I wanted to really say what I wanted to say. So I sort of prepared what I was going to say. There's a lot of cuts in the videos, but it also takes a lot of time. And, it doesn't feel like natural to me.
We had this conversation in a rather heated live with Nigel, didn't we? And I got a little bit carried away, so I apologise for that. But it was coming from actually a good place. I see myself, although I do really enjoy the YouTube part, I get a little bit of your feeling of the bit of, it's not just reviewing something. You've got to be prepared for it. It's not just turning the camera on and speaking. I'm not happy to do that because personally, with how I speak and the way I muck things up all the time, I need to quite heavily edit my videos down, and I like them to be short, sharp and snappy. I like the edits to be quite slick. So for me to do that, I need to be quite well prepared, and it's not scripted, but they're bullet points.
Yeah,
I have to do those bullet points. Otherwise, I forget things, and I still forget things even with those bullet points. And I still get to the end of the video and think, "Damn, what am I going to do? Am I going to just turn it on again and just think that have I got enough footage?" There is a hell of a lot of work that goes into YouTube. So I think I know where you're coming from in terms of the Instagram taking over, because for me personally, I see myself as, you see your Instagram page growing, and we've grown at a fairly good rate. And you see that compared to your YouTube, which I think is a lot harder to grow personally. And I don't mean that in a bad way. And I don't mean Instagram is an easy platform at all. We've worked really hard to get our pages to where they are. So I don't mean that for 1 minute. And this is what we were trying to explain on Nigel's live. I see myself as more of an Instagrammer than I do a YouTuber, because I'm putting more of my energy and time into my daily posts than I ever have. And that's my platform for talking to people, for integrating.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think that's the biggest thing for me, and that's also, I think we are on YouTube now for the live, but I think, the whole community aspect, there are some sort of communities on YouTube, but as a whole, the social aspect is not really working on YouTube. You post the video, and okay, you can do a live nowadays, a live premiere. That's a step up, I guess, but it's still not really like a social media platform. So you upload a video and you're detached from it, and a day later you respond to some comments, and that's about it, And on Instagram, you know it as well. You post something on Instagram, and within the first hour, you're having conversations with 10 people about that post or about something else, or there's days where I'm having like 20 conversations at once because of a post of a certain topic that goes around, not always my own topic, but that goes around in that community. And that's not something that you can really do here on YouTube, I feel like. And that's, it feels way more like a broadcasting, you put it out there and that's that, you're detached from it. And I way much prefer the interaction that you have on a shorter time scale on Instagram.
Yeah. Hi, Chris. Chris is in as well. He's put a comment there. YouTube is like the Wild West. Insta is much more friendly. I agree with that 100%.
Also very underrated, but Instagram is, I think, a much more easygoing community in general than YouTube.
Yeah. And I think it's a bigger community as well, and it's definitely a slightly more friendly place in my opinion. But what I just wanted to say on that stream that Nigel did is that I was actually trying to defend Instagram and saying that people don't have to spend as much time on Instagram. What I mean by that is not me, the creator, and that's what I didn't get my point across. And you were explaining it better than me.
We tried, but it was hard to come across. Yeah,
right. I wasn't saying that people spend less time creating their work on Instagram than they do YouTube. I personally do spend much more time on Instagram, so I know exactly what that is. What I mean is Instagram, when the user is using that phone, so when I'm looking at other accounts, it's very, very quick information, very, very fast. And the world is going that way. It is much easier and quicker to get through more information than it is to watch a YouTube video. So exactly. That's what I meant by that. We need quick data, and Instagram does that. You flick through, you see a picture, you like a picture, you move on or you comment. It is much quicker to interact than it is to watch a 15-minute YouTube video to leave a comment at the end. In that 15 minutes on Instagram, I've got through and I've interacted with 20 people. I've said hello or I've commented on someone's page, and you don't have to be there all the time. It is an easier platform in that way to digest and get the information across.
Yeah, and I think that helps the community aspect a lot, because on YouTube, and that's what I think the problem we had in conveying in Nigel's live stream is, it's not about not wanting to support the YouTubers or watching the videos, but no matter how much you want to, you have only time to watch 10 videos, 20 videos, I don't know, maximum per day. And there will never be a community on YouTube where thousands of people watch each other's videos. That's just not possible. You can only watch a couple of days. So you will always have a couple of big YouTubers with, people that watch them. It's not a level playing field. Well, on Instagram, no matter how big you are, no matter how many followers you have, you can also interact with all those people, or at least with a vast majority of them. It still gets a bit too much sometimes, but you can go through 100 posts, you can talk to 100 people there, and yeah, that's what I think where the value for Instagram lies. And I definitely think that will grow over time. And you also see the brands on Instagram. YouTubers are still looked at as sort of holy grail, and that's fine, because I like to watch some of the YouTubers too. I think that is where the strength for YouTube is, to have those people who really stand out, whether it's entertainment or knowledge or whatever, as people to look at like a broadcast. But for the interaction, and brands are catching on very quick. You see a lot of brands more interacting on Instagram, not just having a page and dropping their own stuff, but I see brands commenting, liking photos for other brands. It's becoming much more of a community feel with the brands too. And I think that's where a lot of the reviewers or influencers would like to see this move into, to have more influence over the industry as per.
Yeah, I agree. Kathy's put there about can take up, maybe explain the inconsistency. You know what? When I say more time, Instagram for a lot of people can take as much time, I'll get that very clear, as creating on YouTube does. I 100% agree with that. You know how long it takes to set something up. If you want a certain shot and you've got something in your mind, I don't spend that time doing that on Instagram. Where I do spend my time is my interactions. That is my time. I spend more time interacting on a daily basis throughout the day, when I've got little 5 minutes here and there, than I do put that time together. It is far more time than I spend creating on YouTube. Far more time. So I know exactly.
I think I spend on average.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think I spend on average on Instagram. The photos usually don't take that long, but the editing of the photos takes me maybe an hour. So I think to make the post, write a review, make the photo, edit it, takes me 1 to 2 hours a day. And then on top of that, at least as much, if not more, on interacting. Now it's a little bit more because I work from home a lot, but usually it will be a little bit less, but still it might be 4 hours a day, for Instagram. Yeah.
With me, with the family, it's quite difficult as well, because if you've got your phone in your hand all the time, it's not sociable. It's not good.
And it's also not a must to do. Like you said, you can dip in and out. You don't have to do that. And I think that's the if you're talking about growing your page, the first thing that I tell people, I made a little guide for some people, like, with tips and tricks and I started that guide by saying, like, don't expect to grow immediately. Don't expect to grow. It's all about what you put in is what you get out. And you can put in 5 hours a day and grow faster. You can post every day and grow faster. Doesn't mean that you should do it. If that's not working for you, I wouldn't advise anyone to do what I do every day, unless you really, really want to. But if you have a family, if you have kids, if you have a job that you have to go out to 8 or more hours a day, it's probably not a viable option for you. And at the end of the day, it shouldn't be about that. You do what works best for you within what you're comfortable with. And that's, I think, very important for people to remember. Also creatively, you might make creative choices or choices for integrity that doesn't really help your account, or maybe even might work against the growth of your account. But you should still do that. If you want to make black and white photos, that might be a little bit harder to get noticed for than really poppy bright colors. But you love black and white photography, please do a black and white photography. And if you want to review a sample for an indie brand that no one knows, I know if I post a sample for an indie brand, I might get half the likes than when I post my bottle of Dior. But I still do it. It shouldn't be about the numbers. That the numbers are part of being a part of the community, and that's very nice. It also enables you to do certain things, but it should never be strictly about the numbers. And if you do that, you're going to burn out. You're going to do that for a while, and you see a lot of those accounts on YouTube and on Instagram. They post every day, and after 2 months you never hear from them again.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of posts. I was going through some followers yesterday, and you can now sort out with your followers the early followers you followed. And I'm going through
most are inactive.
And they're not active. They're not even active anymore. They're not posting. They haven't posted, some of them, since 2019. So it's so let's rewind a moment, and then we'll start talking about some tips and strategies. Let's talk about why the conversation with us started, and that was because of an idea that you've come up with to help some people in the community.
But also the idea, I think, already before that you came up with, that we also did sort of together with the photography. We had this idea of basically, again, working for the community, not just our own page, but creating groups. We created one for people who are more interested in photography. We had a little chat group there, but also to give each other pointers, help each other out, boost each other's posts a bit. And after that, and that's also inspired by that, I figured, okay, let me do that same thing, but only for people with smaller accounts. Whether they are new accounts or people who just seem to be stuck. They can't get their foot in the door. And I just said, okay, let me give you at least my tips and tricks on how I grew. Plus, let's have this little group of people help each other out and give each other feedback, and basically also introduce them to the community. It's not so much about the numbers there as well. It's way more about, there are people who are like on the fringes, the edges of the community that have a hard time getting in for whatever reason. And there are things that you can do to help make your page part of the community more. And that will also in turn grow your account. But I think it's the community aspect first.
There are a lot of things you can do that will grow your page without thinking about the growth itself. And you've just mentioned them there. It's the things you do it's the interaction and getting to know people in the community. And I've got a lot of those points written down. There's a comment on there. Sadly, many YouTubers do recycle their content like rankings, where they mention the same fragrances over and over. Instagram seems to be a little bit more creative to him. So I wouldn't disagree with that. So you moved so that you've got your hashtag. I think that's fantastic. Really catchy. Grow de Parfum.
Yes, yes. I had another hashtag, but that didn't really work for me. It was easy to remember, but I think Grow the Parfum is way more. It's less personal. It's more for everyone, and I think that will work better.
Excellent. I think it'll get a lot of traction, and I hope the group goes well with what you're doing.
Yeah.
I'm sure the people in the group will get a lot from it, and they'll get to talk to some people they wouldn't have known previously, and get to grow some more relationships.
That's the most important part. The pointers are one thing, and they might give them a couple more IDs, a couple more followers, a couple more likes, but I think the most important part is they now have at least a group of people that they know by name and that they interact with and that they share things with, and you need those introductions in the community, and that's exactly what I said about the live streams. Those places become like little communities within the bigger community.
100%.
And that's what it's all about, I think.
There's lots of little communities. Some people, I mean, and what I tend to find in this community than I do with other things that I've got involved with in life is it's not as cliquey. People are much more open to conversation, and that you're not infiltrating a group, or you're not infiltrating, say, for example, the UK fragrance community. You'll be there supporting it, but no one's going to turn around and say, "Oh, you're not welcome here." It's very inclusive, isn't it?
Exactly.
It is. It's really welcoming, I think, definitely.
Yeah, and that's why I love this fragrance community. I think it's also comes down to the essence of what fragrances are for people. It's a form of escapism. And this entire community, this time we spend on Instagram or on YouTube, are a form of escape, I guess. So, which also makes it easier to, in life you would maybe hang out with only like-minded people who like the same things, and in this community it's way more easy to indeed have an open mind and have, it's also so easy to have people from all over the world together.
100%.
That's another thing that's beautiful to see in these groups and these chats. I mean, now we have a lot of people from the UK here, but I just see the OG ropes in the chat. From overseas, we have a lot of people from everywhere, and that's also the beauty of this community.
Yeah, what I find mind blowing is, and this is the first time it's happened in my life, that I now can say that I know a lot of people all over the world.
Yeah.
And that is really nice. So, for example, I'll give you an example of, and this is how friendly a community is. If I said to you, right, Brian, it's the summer, have you got a weekend off? I want to come and visit you, show me around, and blah, blah, blah. I know both ways that we would be more than happy to do that. And how many people can we now say that about within our little community that we've got?
Exactly.
It's mind-blowing, I think.
And that is only the digital part. I mean, we live now in a bit of a crazy time as far as that, but I think it only gets stronger when I know there are some people who have met each other, at Exans or Sand Explorer, or, who live closer to each other and who hung out together. I think that's something we'll see more of in the future. We will have more physical meetups with people as well.
Excellent. Right. So, it will happen, definitely, and we'll get to meet a lot of people in the chat that we're talking to about here as well. But what we'll do is I want to start and put a little bit of a format on the actual what we want to talk about. We've touched on a lot of things already, but some strategies and some things to talk about. Now, let's get this straight again. This isn't going to be a sure way to grow everybody's page.
No.
Me and Brian will nod at each other with a lot of the things that we do and why we do it. And it's taken some research for me with some of the stuff, but other times it's just following other pages, not copying, following little hashtags and other things. But one of the things I wanted to say was, when we started, how difficult was it in terms of growing to start with? I knew nobody in this community, and you probably the same.
Yeah, of course.
I didn't get involved because there was one other person that said, yeah, look, we're in a really good community, pop in, blah, 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 come and say hello. I started my page and I knew nobody.
Yeah, me too.
And how difficult is it, even the first bit, just to reach the first milestone of even 100?
Yeah, it is. Well, I will say to reach the first 100 for me came quite quickly. I think just because of my photography. Even back then I didn't have my camera or whatever, but I did try to be creative. So for me, the followers and likes started quite quickly. But the sense of community, knowing people, talking to people, that took a little bit longer. And what really stands out for me looking back at then is indeed these personal interactions. I think that's why Mr. Cologne. Mr. Cologne is big on Instagram. Everybody knows him. I think everyone here in this chat. He was one of the first that responded to me or sent me a DM like, welcome to the community, or something like that. Just something very small, but that does it. Those kinds of messages. I know David from Fragrance Bros was probably the first one from YouTube who started following my page. And you don't forget that. There's those little things,
It means an awful lot. Yeah. So Robes is in the chat now, an OG of the fragrance community. Yeah. And how much would it have meant to you for Robes to give you a follow when you've got less than 100 followers?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Even what you seem to sort of be, you puts a smile on your face. If someone followed me and they had over, say, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 followers, I was just like, I've got this page following me. Yeah. Why are you following me? And it's just that I find incredible. I really do.
And I really started to do that more myself, to not so much just the interaction, but the actual talking to people. Because I think Andreas just said it in the chat a while back, like, how can you interact with so many people? I mean, of course you can't go into depth with 1,000 people, that's not possible. But there are people who I've been following like for a year straight, and comment, like, but not really having a talk to. And some people I found out after a year that they are also in the Netherlands. We were talking with most people from the Netherlands. I've been chatting in English for the first months, before we realized. So nowadays I try to, not with everyone, but the people that I talk to, and that's also why those chat groups, for example, are really helpful. Yeah. You start making the connections a little bit more personal. You start using people's names instead of their usernames. You try to make things a little bit more social.
Yeah, and there is something you can do when you've got a new page. So let's say you got 80 followers, right? We're doing it at the following we've got now, but we could have done this. Now we know we could have built our own community much earlier on, earlier. So, for example, we could have set up a page for new fragrance people within the community with around 100 followers, for example, and gone, right, let's put all these people in the group chat and say, hi, let's all communicate, interact, help each other. And I'm sure I would have loved that at the start of my journey. No one did that when I was starting out on there. And if you're watching, you've got that kind of following, do it. There's nothing stopping you doing it. If you've got a little bit of time, allow yourself just to put yourself out there, because you'll build those interactions early on in your community, and those interactions will be there for a long, long time, and it will help you get to know other people, and it just opens up the community to you.
I mean, it can only be 20 people in an Instagram group chat. So if you have 50 followers, in theory, you could start a group chat with a part of those 50 followers and get to know each other more, and expand a little bit further than just, your daily fragrance post. And I wasn't in a group chat for a year, that wasn't a thing. Now I'm in 4. I think that's about the maximum that I should be in, because it is a lot of interaction. And like I said, you can't keep up with everything, and you also don't want to just lurk in the corner and never say anything. But having those couple of group chats, I think, is really valuable. It makes for way more personal connections. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things that's been very popular in the community, and we've got John to thank for that, and I did piggyback. Now, I didn't piggyback for the wrong reasons. It's turned into something as a result of this. I wanted to help because me and John spoke a lot. We started our Instagram pages at pretty much the same time, started our journey at the same time, and we got to know each other very, very early on in our chats with each other. And John came to me and thought about an idea of maybe putting photos out there or something. And then it turned into this Frag Fan Wednesday.
Yeah.
that was John's idea. And we had the chat, and I was happy. I don't know if the plan was for more people to do it, but what's happened is that we've just done that, and it's carried on, and we do it every week, and we've done it for over a year now,
And I always follow the people that I see in your post. You know, it really helps to introduce new people.
And that takes time. It takes time. Me and John do it in different ways. We've got different ways of approaching that, but we've got. I was doing a lot more, but it wasn't working so well. So I pinned mine back to 5 people per week, under 500 followers, that are active in the community, that are clearly into fragrance. And for me personally, because I like to come into the angle because I'm learning, I like the photography part of it. So I try and find pages that might give me that that fix where I know if I'm going to carry on and really enjoy their content, and I'd want to share that with other people. And I think there's a lot of people in the chat that me and John have both actually reposted, and they've become
definitely, like I think, like for example, the Trusted Nose. I think I saw him via one of yours, you know, and definitely more others. Absolutely.
And you'll be surprised. I remember posting people. I remember names as I do it, because I've researched their page. I've looked into their photos. I've looked up their name, where they're coming from, and tried to. And then I'll usually like a couple of pictures, and then I'll post it in a Wednesday. Now, for me personally, I just do a screenshot. I look at it. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's a great page. Screenshot. And then in that screenshot, I've usually got a back catalogue of about 20 screenshots. So every week, it's not a massive pull on my time to find new pages all the time. Because what happens is, as you get a bigger following, you get more people following you, and you grab the screenshots of the people that are following you. So it's, for me, it's taking less time.
Actually, Instagram does a lot of things wrong, but actually one of the good things that Instagram has started to implement, in my opinion, is lately they've been showing me new people to follow, like in my stories, like an advertisement. And usually those are pretty good new fragrance accounts that I get suggested by YouTube. So by Instagram, sorry. So that really works out as well. Yeah.
There is a button you can press as well where it says recommend followers, and it actually just lists people. So you're looking. So right. We've discussed like the start of the journey, and obviously that. But what I wanted to say was some of the musts. Let's talk about some of the things that we consistently do. So firstly, frequency of posts. So the frequency of how often you think, and what you do and what I do and what we think works.
Yeah. Well, for me, first of all, I post often 2 times a day, which I think is too much. To be honest, it's part just because I work from home a lot. I'm at home a lot. I have the time, you know, and I like the photography aspect. So, you know, and the second thing is I get a lot of bottles in. I get a lot of sponsored bottles from brands, and you know, when I get one in, I want to make a photo, you know. So it's more just getting through what I have, to be honest with you. But I think once a day is probably better than twice a day. And to be honest, it can be once a week even, but there has to be some sort of consistency. I think that's most important. You see people who post a lot and then, you know, don't post for weeks. And especially also don't interact for weeks. And that just, you know, even if it's not consciously, that puts you somewhere in the corner, you know, with so many accounts that are posting. And you know, so you have to post quite consistently. I think a couple of times a week is probably a good place for most people. Doing it every day, you know, you have to have, I think, a pretty big collection or a lot to say or whatever, or be very creative with your post. But a couple of times a week, you know, I think would be a good point for most people.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to find what's right for you. There's no wrong or right answer with this. We're just telling you what works for us and what we do. So I post at least once a day. My aim is I want 1 post out there per day. Sometimes, as you'll see from my page, it's not even fragrance related. It's very difficult for a page that's starting out that hasn't got the biggest following to put a post or 2 every day, because they'll soon go through their collection, and Nigel's mentioned this, and you'll be recycling your bottle collection. What I would say is get as many samples you can. It doesn't matter if you review, because what you can do is you can review from a sample. You can tell people what the fragrance is like. You can try and create the best from that with a photograph. You've done it brilliantly.
Absolutely. It's my advice I would give to everyone. Aside from growing your Instagram, you don't need to buy full bottles. If you're just starting out, you will notice as well, Tony. When you first start, everything is exciting. You smell something, it's a revelation, because you never smelled an amber, you never smelled a leather, you never smelled an oud. And after a year, I smelled maybe 1,000 fragrances. I sample every day. Yeah. And it's not so much that it's not exciting anymore, but now it's more in the details, because general styles, it is rarely that I find something that I smell that and say, oh, I've never smelled anything that comes close to this, Yeah. It's way more about the details. So when you first start, you want to buy everything. Yeah. or you want to buy a lot. And then there are fragrances that I bought, and a month later I sampled something. I think, oh, this is similar, but much better. Yeah. So please just sample. And yeah, what you said, I've grown my page, I think, to maybe 5,000 followers, or maybe even more, 6,000, 7,000 followers, with the majority of my posts being samples.
Nothing wrong with that.
And it works. It gets a little bit less likes till this day, but a good sample post for me will do about the same as a bad bottle post. It's not really that big of a difference.
No, and it helps you get the content out, and it helps you be a bit more consistent with more posts if you're doing that, because you're just going to post full bottles. There's nothing wrong with recycling. I think Nick made a great point there. If you're being creative with that bottle, you're doing something different this time, no one cares. No one's going to look down on you for.
There's so much to do, and that's also, that's also the inspiration you take from others. There's so much to do. You can do, detailed shots. You can make shots from the caps of the bottles. You can talk about a certain note. You can talk about your personal experience with that fragrance, a memory. You can put different fragrances in one photo. You can combine those. So yeah, the possibilities are endless. There's no reason in that. With a smaller collection, you can still get out a lot of content if you want to. And what I want to add to that, as far as the consistency goes, and I've been slacking on this part lately, but I used to always work ahead. Now with taking 2-3 hours a day on a photo, because I try to step up my photography game, it's hard to work ahead. But when I went, I used to take 8 bottles or samples with me in a bag, go to the forest, take 8 photos, and I had my post lined up for an entire week.
Yeah, and then
it's definitely the way to do it.
Yeah. And that's a great idea. If you've got some time at the weekend, for example, go out with a few bottles in your bag and go and take some shots somewhere where you wouldn't usually do it. I do that a lot, and we said that we would do this throughout the live. We're going to shake our heads at each other, because
and I do that with my captions as well. I always have captions written ahead on my computer. I send them to myself. I have my reviews or whatever caption it is. Sometimes I have reviews 1-2 weeks ahead before I post them. I just have all of them written down. So the actual posting only takes a couple of minutes. It's just the work ahead, but you can plan that. So if you are, a little bit short on time, what you said, take a weekend where you have time, and you can, and that's the same with YouTube. I think people, make posts so that if something comes up, if you're not in the mood, which is also a big thing, by the way. Like I said, with YouTube, I had that more than with Instagram. But even on Instagram, sometimes there's a day where I don't feel like taking a photo, and it helps if you have posts lined up. You'll never have to do it when you're not in the mood to do it, because you can just grab something that you already have.
Yeah. Matt said something there, and we're going to touch on this, Matt. There's actually a serious part of that comment. This sounds like too much hard work, guys. I'll move on. I'll get back to that. I'll try and keep it in as much order as I can. There is a really important part of what Matt's just said in here. But one of the things I've put here, so frequency of post, I try and post once a day. That has worked for me. I've stuck by that formula from day one. So if you go back through my history of my page, it will be usually at least one post every single day. So that will keep the consistency. It will keep you in the community. It will keep you in people's feeds. You're relevant because you're there, and more people over time will follow that page. So that That is one thing. And I would say you can post too much as well. I don't know of any pages that do this. There's no example.
I'll name you an example, and not that he posts too much. I don't think he cares, so I hope he doesn't mind me saying it like this. But Geekwell, captured by Geekwell, is a brilliant photographer.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of photo shoots for brands. And what he does is he takes like 10 photos of a certain bottle or a line, and he posts all 10 of the photos at once.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I will like or comment on one or two, and then I'll scroll ahead. I watch them, but I'm not going to reply to all 10.
No,
you know,
exactly.
It's genuinely not a great idea to post a lot at once. At least space them out a little bit. Yeah.
Or save the shot for the next day, or you can, excuse me, you can put 10 different photos in one post.
Yeah.
So you can either spread it out and save some content for later, or you can put them in one post. So I often, if I've got a couple of shots that I can't choose between, I sometimes just post 1, 2 in the same caption. Especially if you can't choose one or the other, and you've done 2 different edits, a light and a dark, or you've done something different with it. Like, well, okay, let's just post both of them.
Or posting your stories. Use your stories as like a secondary feed.
Yeah, exactly. So that was the frequency. So you've got to be active. I think the outcome of that. Stay active. Right. Next subject I've got is hashtags.
Yeah.
How important are hashtags?
Yeah, hashtags are difficult. I think they're still very important, but it's not like back in the days when I started on Instagram, hashtags were everything. You posted hashtags and you would get 100 likes because of the hashtag. The way they set up Instagram now, where you only see first the suggested, the top hashtags, and you see, well, it's not really the way people find posts on average, but I think it is. That's why certain hashtags, like the one that I'm trying to start, like the Mr. Cologne one, those are like little communities within their own. And especially for new accounts, if you start using those hashtags, that's where people will find you. That's where people will find their posts. And I also think and hope a lot of people start following those hashtags. So just to get those posts in your feed. So I think, I use like 25 hashtags. Realistically, a lot of them are not going to give me more likes on that specific post.
Yeah.
I'll give you a concrete example. I have my personal Instagram as well. Sometimes I post the same photo with the same caption and the same hashtags on my personal IG, and that might get like 40 likes instead of 700. Yeah. So it's not like those hashtags are going to give you all the likes. It's way more a part to accumulate people who are very active in the community, like you and I, who might follow certain hashtags, and new people. Like, if new people start following Grow the Parfum, if they start following Mr. Cologne, that will be a way to get at least some attention from the community.
Agree. So, I've got a different stance on hashtags. I know what you're saying in terms of it's not as important. It doesn't seem to have as big effect from an Instagram point of view. But I consistently post all 30 hashtags.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
One thing I do is I don't ever keep them all the same. So what I won't do is have a copy and paste and just paste it. What I would say, guys, I'm not saying it's wrong to do that, but personally, I don't think that you're going to get a lot from using the same hashtags every single time, because you're gonna grow in that hashtag is what's going to happen, because your feed, your post is going to end up in that hashtag all the time. And as people enter the hashtag, you might get the odd follow. What you need to do ideally is involve yourself in as many hashtags as possible. So change it up a little bit based on what you've posted. Put something different in there. Put some big Instagram posts in there. It's going to be very, very hard for you to get at the top and in a feed for Insta Good, or one of the big ones that have got like 1 billion posts or something in. It's going to be very difficult for your post to be seen in there. But what you can do, there's probably 200, 300 different hashtags in the fragrance community that you can use and you can recycle and get through. And for me personally, with trying out these different hashtags, it does bring different attention. And I know it works because if I post something that's outside of the community on my Fragdicted page, unless, for example, I post a picture of my dog and I write some different hashtags that have got nothing to do with the fragrance community, and I write what the dog breed is, dog lovers thing. It gets likes, it gets some attention. It's not big, but it puts people are following those hashtags, and you'll get extra growth for it.
So that's, I think, the tricky part. If you use, I mainly use the same ones, but I try to make those quite diverse. So I have German hashtags in it. I have Italian. I have Russian. I have different languages in there. But if you do two hashtags that are basically the same, if you do men fragrances and men's fragrances, that's not going to find you different people. No. And also if you do hashtags, like I said, you might want to do it on a dog post, but if you do a dog hashtag on a fragrance post, that might give you 1 or 2 likes more on that specific post, but those people will not help you in the long term. That's, to be honest, that's how you see people with 30, 40,000 followers that they have garnered from all corners of Instagram, and especially on YouTube. But those people aren't interested in your fragrances. At the end of the day, it's a very niche thing that we do. Yeah. It's this very small community, and I don't really see the value. That's also why the numbers don't always matter that much.
Apologies, sorry.
No problem. You can get 10,000 extra followers by doing TikTok dances. I'm just saying something, but then those followers will not result in more likes on average, or more interaction or whatever, So I think it's good to trying that to within the community itself, within the fragrance world, to expand to those borders, to find those communities, those angles, maybe in the things that are similar to that, to beauty industry, candles, photography, things that match to your account. Try to get people from those communities in.
I agree. Some great points. So hashtags, I think personally they're very important. Don't underestimate them not being relevant, because if a page is at the same growth of you and one of you's posting hashtags and one of you isn't, I can almost guarantee the person posting all the different hashtags and researching those hashtags and putting different will be they will grow a little bit quicker, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that for me personally is important. Is important. So don't underestimate hashtags. So, and by the way, it's not my wife telling me to wrap it up. It's my niece trying to FaceTime my daughter, and that comes through on my iCloud account.
Yeah.
Apologies for that. I know how to silence the phone, but I don't know how to silence the Mac yet. Put it in airplane mode. So I have to find one out for next time.
I don't have a Mac, but it should be somewhere, the option.
Lesson learned for next time. I will look that up. Right. So next, from hashtags, tagging. So
controversial one.
It is a controversial one, but I wanted to put it up, and because we tag each other in certain things and we tag other people, we can maybe give some of the etiquette, I think, firstly.
Yeah, and to be honest,
it's not a wrong or a right. It's maybe a little bit of etiquette, but why we might do it and when we would do it. Because personally, I don't do it all the time. I know it can be quite annoying for some people.
That's the thing. I think there's two sides to it. I think for one, it really helps. Actually, I think tags are probably one of the best things as far as growing your account goes. Yeah. Because the way Instagram is set up is that you see very recent posts in your feed, like the last 10 minutes, and then you mainly see the bigger posts, big accounts, big brands, and sponsored posts and whatever. So the key to getting into that, especially if you have a couple thousand followers and you want that's where you start seeing the real consistency in your growth, because then now all of a sudden everything you post within the thousands of people that follow you are at the top of their feed because you are among the bigger accounts. Yeah. And the key to that is to have, within those first 10 minutes, to have your post do well. And I think that's where those groups help. That's where sometimes the hashtags work, but that's definitely where the tags work, because the people you tag that are online will often comment, will often reply, and that will get the ball rolling for your post. But like you said, it is annoying to some people, and I probably tag too many people too often, because I'm desensitized about it, because I can't follow my notifications for a long time. You know, it's impossible. That's why I use the hashtags. That's why I do. It's impossible for me to keep up with notifications and whatever. Everything is on mute anyway, because I get so many messages, so many notifications, that sometimes I might forget that for other people that's not the case. And you know, if they're tagged, then they will see all the notifications, and that's not always a positive for people. So yeah, what I try to do is, I have a couple of people that I know are okay with it. You know, we talked about it or whatever. I have a bunch of people that tag me. You know, it's a eye for eye thing. You know, that works. And sometimes I tag people who I think for who I think the post is really relevant. You know, if it's a fragrance that I discovered through them, or a brand, or I know it's a big love for them or whatever, or they posted about it, I might tag those people. I know I made a mistake in the beginning too, and that's coming down to, I just named him Fragrance Bros, David. I started my account and I started just tagging big accounts, you know. And David DM'd me like, not to be a dick here, but I don't know you. Why did you tag me in that post, you know? And I think that's perfectly fine. People should just tell people, and and you can also untag yourself, but please just tell the people, like, you know, I'm not really comfortable with that. Yeah. So it is a bit of a tricky thing. Also, for example, I stopped at least tagging people in giveaways, you know, only the people that the brands or whatever. But, you know, with a giveaway, if you do a giveaway and you tell people to comment and tag a friend, you're going to get a lot of comments, and you're going to get them anyway. So don't tag people in that post, because they will get those hundreds of notifications, you know. But yeah, I'm at the point now where I can tag mostly people that I know are okay with it, or that already tag me. When you start, it's probably better to stick to the ones that you know are okay with it, or just ask people. You know, some people might like it. I personally like to be tagged, because at least I know I see those posts. So whatever, if it's someone I don't know or someone I know, a newcomer in the community, if they want me to see their posts, if they are active, if they are serious about fragrances, I'm very willing to like your post and to interact with you, but I can't keep up with everything. So feel free to tag me. That's why I started the hashtag in the first place. For me, was to at least the people that want me to see their posts that I interact with, because otherwise I'm going to miss them. I'm going to miss a lot of the posts. And but yeah, tagging is I think it's a bit of a struggle for people sometimes, and it's often misused, like I did in the beginning, which gives it a bad rap.
There's been some posts on it that add quite serious conversations on there about etiquette of tagging. And what I would like to say to people from my own point of view, I'm okay with it too. I see it as a little bit of a compliment, to be honest. If someone tags me in a post, I think, oh wow, they might think something of me, even if it's just a small page. I really don't mind.
To be completely honest, it's just
tag yourself or like a picture, and I'd rather, because you'll get a load of notifications, but you're not going to react to all those notifications and like them all. You're literally just going to like the post or comment on the post, and it's done with. You'll get loads of notifications, but so what?
To be honest, it's a bit of a dick move from Instagram that you just can't shut down those notifications. You know, that's the real problem, to be honest. You know, they should just let you tag people so that see your tag and your post and don't get all the notifications, because that's completely ridiculous. But you know, you can't really do anything about that. So
yeah. So anyone in the chat that feels worried about who they can tag, me and Brian are okay with it. Get tagging, not a problem for us at all. But I do completely. I'm not sitting on the fence here. I completely respect the people that don't want to be tagged, and that.
Exactly. So also, in that, definitely feel free to tell me. You know, just send me a DM. You know, I don't like getting all the notifications. I'm not offended by that. Of course not. You know,
it's really a strange one, Brian, because I don't tag a lot of people in mine. I feel a little bit awkward with it. I don't do it. But yeah, I'm okay to be tagged myself. I don't want to put the trouble on other pages, if that makes sense. I'm just a little bit worried about what they might think. But that's not to say you're doing wrong. It's just.
And to be honest, I think about. I think about stop doing it. I think there are several things now that, you know, I used to do where I feel like I don't have to do them anymore. You know, those people are seeing my post anyway. So if you tag a couple of things that I do or did, and what I would suggest is, you want those tags so that people see your post and comment and react to get your post up. So if you post in Europe, in the UK, or in the Netherlands at 7 in the morning, I don't tag American people unless it's someone that I really specifically want to tag for that post. But those people are sleeping, you know, they are not going to see that post. The people that I'm in a group chat with, often I won't tag anymore because I'll get them in the group chat, you know. It's no, you don't just tag to tag. And a little pet peeve of mine that is related to this is with the giveaways. People say tag a friend. Why do you do that? So that, you know, people see that post, but people tag the same person that tagged them. You know, to be honest, it's completely useless. That's so you know, the tagging is a bit controversial. I think it does help, but that's another thing. If you're not comfortable with it yourself too, then why would you do it? You know, it's not worth the 5 extra likes if you're not comfortable doing it. You know.
So go with your own things, but just be mindful of others, I think, with tagging, but it can help, definitely, I think was the outcome there. I know I got the right person on the string for this, Brian, because I love the way you explain what you do, and I think a lot of people will be nodding away in the chat about a lot of these things. So, right, next, following and what we do and who to follow. So with going back to the tagging just for one moment, I put tag pages that maybe have influenced you, that you know that are happy to tag you, and also the brands. Sometimes that helps you get noticed within the certain brands, and they sometimes want to use those images if they're good enough. So that's not a bad thing. But onto tagging, onto following.
Yeah.
I'll let you know what I've written down, and then we'll get you. So on this one, I've got a big. I'm a bit funny about this, right? So I've just set up my Instagram page, just set it up. I've not posted one thing, not one thing. Why am I then going to go and like 500 pages or follow 500 pages immediately? It will not do anything at all. So the advice I would give for new pages starting out, get a bit of a page together first. It only has to be a grid. Only really has to be 9 shots or more, I would say, before you start following other pages. Because the idea within the community, the polite thing would be, if you aren't bothered about how many people you're following, I know some people are, I'm not, I don't see a problem with how many people I follow, but get a little bit of a sense of what your page is about, because that will give people a decision to make of whether they want to follow you or not. If you're not posting anything, then you're following. They've made their decision. They're not going to follow you back. Very rarely you're going to get a follow back. So get a page together is what I would say. 9 images, a small grid. Okay. And then I'd put, then slowly start to follow people in and around the same following as you and move up. Maybe don't do it every day. Just slowly build your following. And it's okay to like and follow a hell of a lot more people, especially in the early days, than you are following. There is no rules as to say, I only want my account to follow 100 people and I want 10,000 people following me.
Exactly.
It's not fair for a start. And there is an argument the other way, Brian, with this. I'm going to, both sides of the fence is, the argument the other way is, if you follow too many people, it's very difficult to keep up with pages and interact with many people, as we know.
Yeah, I made a mistake there at the start. But
If you go back and start again, you probably would do a few things a little differently.
Definitely.
Now, so that the advice that we're giving now, no one's given us that advice when we started. We just had to wing it and find these things out. But I would say, get a page together, then start following. And it doesn't matter if you want to follow 2,000 people in the first, I don't know, week, 2 weeks, that's fine. But don't expect everybody to follow you back, because it won't work that way. So maybe just do it slowly. Take a little bit more time with it. And I would say, personally, my strategy of following people and how I do it, and this to me, I'm part of a community. I am more than happy to support someone that's got followers, as long as I can see them related, and it's not going to be an advert page, for example. It's going to come from pictures of bottles.
You're breaking up a little bit on my end. I don't know if it's just me or if it's for everyone, but.
Let me just slow down just a touch. Am I okay? I think that's gone back to normal.
A little bit, yes.
Oh, it's lagging a bit. Right, okay. I think hopefully we've gone back to a little bit of the normal. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Can you hear me okay now?
Now I can.
Okay, well, excellent. So sorry, I just maybe had a little bit of a lag with the internet. So I would say that it's, I follow pages that have got fragrance bottles rather than other people's images or brand images. Don't do that. Post a picture, we will follow you. Quite
exactly.
Simple, really.
That's tying to your saying, you have to have something on your page that's interesting. A blank account is not interesting to follow back. I would also, an advice that I give, if you really want to do this community thing, fragrance thing, it's hard to combine with other things. You can't post, you can do it, of course, and if you want, you should, but if you post pictures of your family, of your other hobbies, of your sport, of your car, and 1 in 10 posts is a bottle, I'm less inclined to follow you. That's just depending, of course, on how much I value that post. But to get back to what you're saying, Will, you learn from what you've done. And when I started, I had this idea of you. I'm part of a community. I'd like to support everyone. I don't care about that. Otherwise, it is like YouTube. You're just broadcasting, and everyone is following you. That's not why I'm on Instagram. But I started following everyone that followed me. And at one point, first of all, you don't see the post that you want to see anymore. But also, I followed 7,500 people. And Instagram said you can't follow any more people. So, and then you go look back, like we said earlier today, and you see all these old accounts that only have 3 posts, that aren't active anymore, that haven't posted in half a year. And also a lot of stores like Salas, those, for example, even if you try, and I don't think you should, but if you try to follow to get followers ID very strictly, those accounts aren't going to follow you back, and if they do, they are not going to like your post or interact with you or whatever. So I should have definitely, going back in time, and what I've started doing now is I stopped following all those types of accounts. I started unfollowing people who aren't active anymore. I think I unfollowed about 3,000-4,000 people over the past couple of months. And ideally I'd unfollow like 2,000 or 3,000 more at least. So but yeah, I do think there's a middle ground. I don't think you have to follow everyone that follows you. That's I think a faulty idea of thinking. The idea, I had a conversation about this with someone earlier today, regarding to a post of Mr. Cologne of Glenn, and I don't think he meant it in that way, but he had this post about giving back, eye for an eye. I don't think that's always the case. I think I offer something on my Instagram. Like I said, I put in 3 hours a day or whatever. I don't think that means that I should follow everyone back that follows me, or comment back on everyone that comments on my page. That there's something to be said for what do you bring to the table? That being said, the other way around, I think is equally bad. If you have 10,000 followers and for no other reason than to, I don't know, look cool or principle or whatever, you only want to follow 100 people or the couple of big names or the brands or whatever. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't think that makes sense if it's your personal account where you share your life, because then you only want to share that, you only want to see the people that you have in your close surroundings. But this is ultimately that is a fragrance account for pretty much everyone. I don't think there are many big accounts that aren't like a separate account for their fragrances. So why on earth wouldn't you follow more people that are into fragrances? That's I think there's something to be said for that. And last thing that I want to add on this topic is, as far as how your account looks, one thing that I I always struggle with is how much do I show of myself? You know, how much of myself do I let through in this account?
Yeah.
I have the problem is I know if I post a photo of my head, it's not going to do as well as posting bottles, you know, and I'm not in the mood to do that either. But I do think if people don't know at all how you look, if people don't know your name, your age, where you're from, whatever, it will be, you know, a bit of a way. How do you say it is harder for them to get in touch with you. I think if they go to your page and they know a bit about you, or they at least know your name or whatever, it will be far more easy for them to go to your DMs and say, hey, Brian, you know, I saw your page. So I also advise that to new accounts. Put your name in your description, in your bio. You know, maybe post something about yourself every once in a while. Maybe have your face as your profile pic, whatever, but make it at least a little bit personal. I think if you make it too personal, people forget it's about the fragrances. That's not going to work. But if it's completely anonymous, then people are so far detached from you that it will hinder them from getting in touch with you.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had that later on in my things about show a little bit of your personality.
Yeah.
You don't have to put any personal information out there, but let people know a little bit about you. It helps
just the basics.
A real person rather than just an account. I'm a person with an account rather than just a fragrance bottle account. So I think it's a great point. Barry asked a question there. How often, and he asked it of both of us actually, do you housekeep the people that you follow? Now, Barry, so often I don't do it a lot. I've done it the last couple of days because I noticed, I mean, it's going up quite high. And what I found was that this is part of the same subject, is that I do understand why some bigger accounts won't follow that many people, is because they're going to struggle with maybe time to get through their feed and give everybody the attention they need. So they'll only give the attention to the people that they want to give that attention to. So I do understand it for some people. I've not got a problem with it. I personally wouldn't do that, but it's not. That doesn't mean that you're wrong or I'm right, or vice versa. But Barry's the answer to that, Barry, the last couple of days, and I'll give you some insight into Instagram. What you can now do is you can sort through your followers via newest or oldest, rather than just the Instagram algorithm it gives you. So as part of one of the recent updates, you're able to sort your followers out based on how soon. So this makes me smile every time I click on my earliest followers. Fragmental was the first person that comes up, right? So I found him on YouTube, and that's how I found it. And that's like a little bit of validation, a little bit of proof that that's why I got into the community. So, and then I go down, and if you go down from the top through your feed, you'll find the pages that you mentioned. The people that are inactive, I had people that hadn't posted since 2019. To me, why are they in that 3,500 people I'm following? There's no need for them to be there if they're not active in that community. Secondly, because I can follow them again, they start posting again, it will come up, I will find them again. And the accounts where they're selling as well, the selling pages and stuff, I find FM pages, I don't tend to follow those either. You'd be following thousands and thousands if you followed those. So like recently I've gone through and unfollowed, but Instagram only gives you a limit, and I think it's a daily limit of unfollows. So you can't completely.
Yeah, you got to be very careful. Yeah.
You have, I think it's like 100 people or something like that.
No, I think it's pretty much. I think it's 50 or 100 per hour and 1,000 per day. But if you're not careful, I think the first time they might give you a warning, or you can't. No, they will disable the option. You click follow or unfollow, and it will pop right back. And then they might give you a 24-hour ban that you can not post, or at least not like or comment or whatever. But in following and unfollowing so many people back in the days when I grew so fast, but also not just following, if 100 people comment under my post and I like all those comments, they will think I'm a bot. Instagram will quite quickly assume you're a bot or a third-party service that you use to unfollow people. And I think I've now 3 or 4 times had a full week ban where I couldn't interact for a week. Yeah.
So be careful with your cleanup. Do it gradually over time. Don't just take them all off. Is good advice there. Right, we're getting through. So this is part of that, liking and engaging. So I'll just read you my couple of sentences I wrote. So I put like lots quite consistently. Oh, lovely. And comment on like-minded pages. Be genuine, be polite. You've got to have an interest, I think, in what we do. And don't get involved in any drama, is what I would also say.
Unless you're rich, Mitch.
Yeah.
Then you only get involved in drama.
and take part in as much as you can early on, especially to get yourself involved in things that happen in the community.
This is the most important thing if you want to grow your account easily. This is what you have to do. You're not going to grow your account if you're not active on the social aspect. Whether it's genuine social or not is sometimes questionable, of course, with bigger numbers. But this is definitely a must. You cannot not interact with people and expect people to interact with you. That's just not how it works. Even if they wanted to, if you don't interact with them, if you don't, then they will not always see your posts. You know, that's what Instagram is built on. You know, and I definitely and again, this comes down to right now. I feel like I follow so many people. It grew so much that it's hard to keep up with everything. And again, that's why those hashtags, that's why those groups at least help me get to the people that I really want to get to. But in general, I try to like and comment a lot. And, you know, like you said, you have to be genuine. And I really try to take a lot of time out of my day to read captions, to respond about the post, you know, to say something that in regards to that post. That I can't do that for all 500 posts that I see every day, you know. So that's one thing. Sometimes people say, oh, you know, Instagram is just blindly liking photos. Instagram is just leaving an emoji, which I also do a lot. I leave a lot of posts. I just leave an emoji. But, you know, that's just simple time management. You know, if it took me a second to read a caption and comment insightful things, then I would do that on all hundreds of posts that I see every day. But that's not possible. And you know, I think that's just finding a balance. You know, you can pick out the accounts that always say the same thing, that never, you know, go in depth. I have a couple of those followers that just only say the same emoji on everyone's post, on everyone thing, you know, on every story they react the same. Yeah, you can pick those people out, you know, and there has to be some genuinity in what you do, and of course that is always limited to the time that you have.
Yeah, definitely. Great advice. John's mentioned about an algorithm post there. John, I've actually, it's one of my subjects, so I will get onto that. Algorithms shortly. Me and Brian have both had some issues along the way with that, so we can maybe give some insight. I'm not sure. We'll see if we can help a little bit with algorithms. So next one, and I think this is huge. You've said about obviously your interaction is huge, which I agree with, but this is huge, right? Consistency. And hard work. We've touched on consistency of posts, but one thing I find, I've heard Chris mention this a few times on like the Saint Geeks and stuff, but I'll give you an example of a comment. I can't remember names, and that's probably a good thing, but I posted somebody on my on one of my Frag Fan Wednesdays, a new page, and that page mentioned about I think it was like November-ish time, and the page mentioned about he was going to have something like 25,000 followers by the new year. And I didn't comment. I didn't want to sort of be a dick or anything. I just sort of frowned a little bit at the post, but just thought, well, maybe I don't know if I feel bad for not DMing him and saying, look, just maybe, because I didn't want to piss on his bonfire, if you like. I just left it. But
let me just say for everyone that's watching this with those aspirations, I don't think there are 25,000
in a couple of months
people in the Instagram fragrance community. There are a couple of accounts with more followers, and they are either fake followers in some cases or accumulated from everywhere, but those accounts do not get more likes or comments or interactions than accounts with 10,000 followers. I don't think there are 25,000 people in this community. So if your aspirations is to become a world star and to earn your money and to whatever, then you're in the wrong industry, the wrong field.
And you're doing it for the wrong reasons as well.
Also, of course, yeah.
So Barry mentioned there as he wasn't maybe buying it. I looked at him, I think a month later, and his page hadn't grown. It had grown a little bit, maybe 100 followers or so, but it was just completely unrealistic. So if you're a new page, don't be unrealistic with your growth. It takes a lot of work and a lot of hours to grow a page and to embed yourself in this community of ours. And your page will naturally grow in the right way if you interact with people and you give so much of your time back into the community. It's not just going to come your way. It won't happen. It's not going to happen unless you go and buy followers, which again, it's one of my subjects. So it will not happen for you unless you go and buy followers. So please don't have those unrealistic. You're not going to have 1 million followers in Fragcom unless you buy followers.
I think, I don't know how it is on your page, but I grew consistently with the same post, and I think my post got better, my photography. I grew very consistently from, I think, about 4,000 till around 10,000. You know, I got about 1,000 a month, every month. And now I see, and I've heard this from a lot of the bigger accounts that I talk to, around that area, 8, 9, 10 to maybe 15 at best, things will slow down. You know, you will run out of new accounts to follow. You will think, and I can say right now that I'm at, I think, 11 point something now. It started to slow down for me right now. Even though I think I put in more time, more work, I get the same amount of likes, and the amount of followers is starting to slow down from about 1,000 a month to maybe 600-700 a month, and I'm sure it will continue to go down. I don't expect to grow at this rate, at least, or something in the community must change. I don't think I will grow much more, and if I do, then it will be some new accounts, and I will keep the inactive accounts. But my likes, my interaction, I think we're pretty much at the edges of what the core of this community can be.
Yeah.
So that's another reason, and I kind of wanted to touch on this at the very start of this talk, and I didn't, but one of the reasons why we are now having this conversation, I think, why we started the group and the hashtags and that type, is our pages, I feel like, are at the end of their like big change and big growth. We are just keeping up. We are challenging ourselves with photography, with other things, with creativity. And we are now at the point where I'm like, okay, I've reached what I can reach. Now I want to see what I can do as a community, part of the community. And I think we're both at that stage where we want to make it bigger than ourselves, and for everyone that will happen. Like I said, look at the accounts with 20, 30, 40,000 followers and name me one that's really fragrance centric, fragrance related, that has exponentially more followers, likes or comments or whatever. They don't exist, so don't have those ambitions. Just go with your page and give it time, and it will grow.
Excellent, great advice. Thank you, CJ, and thanks for your donation, by the way. I appreciate it, mate. Thank you. CJ's not even in the fragrance community. He's one of my brother's subscribers on his page, Brian, and he pops into my live and says hello, which is lovely of him. Thank you, CJ.
Yeah, I have a very hard time. I try to read some comments, but it's nearly impossible. So I probably miss a lot of the people in the comments. But yeah, it's very nice to see everyone. We're still at 43, I think, now, so we haven't lost many people watching. That's always a good sign. So yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's one of the things is I put is, so the consistency. Try and improve as you go along, and you've just mentioned this, Brian, you get to a point where something's got to change.
Yeah. For yourself, to keep it interesting.
Yeah, so as your page moves along, you'll develop with that. Naturally, you'll develop. So we don't need to tell you this, but something's got to improve for you to keep gaining followers, if that's what you want to do. So your imagery's got to improve, your reviews maybe have to improve. You can improve things all the time. There's always something that you can work on to maybe get your page. It could be just working on, I'm going to work on hashtags this week and see what difference that makes. I'm going to explore the different algorithms and research this, how I can get into people's feeds. And that's without even thinking about your imagery, your setup, what you can buy, your lighting. There's so many different things that you can do to improve your page along the way. I would say lighting is a big thing, guys. If you're seriously into your photography and want to improve your page, invest in some good softbox lighting or a light box, because it makes all the difference in the world. I have quite my house isn't a dark house, got fairly large windows and stuff, but the sun never seems to be in the right place to get through those windows. So even when we're decorating the house, the softbox lights are up. We to get the extra light there. So we use the lighting for everything. They're not overly expensive, and they're a massive.
Look at my page, and I have used the same softbox since I got my camera.
Yeah,
it was 25 euros. One softbox, 25 euros. I still only have that light till this day. So you can do a lot with just figuring out, working with what you have. You can do very much there. A cheap
clone fragrance, £25. That will invest in your channel for a long time. Russell won't mind me mentioning this. We've been talking about light boxes and different things, and he mentioned, and actually I should have just said it to him, and he'd probably listen to this now and hear it because he's in his truck, I think. But I posted a light box and said that this is what I want next, and it was actually a light table. It's one of these tables that you can put the light underneath, and it gives no reflection. And this table I'd seen was about £120. And Russell said to me, I can get a bottle of Nasamato for that. And yeah, you might be able to get one bottle, but that investment in your channel or your page is far more than that bottle of Nasamato is going to give you, in my opinion. Yeah. So don't overestimate equipment as much as fragrance, I would say.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. On to the next one then, Brian. Let's talk about algorithms. John mentioned it. Well, he said about the algorithm, do they play a big part? As anyone, I think, having problems with it? Yes, as Facebook have taken over and different things have happened, I think Instagram even today are still working out different ways to do things to protect the community. Number one, it's not all bad. They are trying to. The fact that I can't go and unlike 1,000 people in one go is a good thing. Because that stops the pages and bots doing follow, unfollow. There are things they're trying to put in place to help the community. As a result of that, there's going to be some negative, unfortunately. Unfortunately. So have you had any algorithm problems to start with?
Let's just say, I wouldn't say problems, but there are just phases where Instagram, for some reason, doesn't show certain pages. And I always try to tell people, like, I like the analytic part of this. And I think some of the people, at least, that are in this chat because of the topic that we announced, they will like to do that. I mean, I used to own websites. I used to work for websites. I like the fine tuning. I like to look at all those analytics. I like to try those things. But if you don't, then don't stress about it. It is about the details at the end of the day. And what I see some people do is get very upset or sad or discouraged by things that happen that you don't have any control over. Like I said, my page is in general super consistent. Like, I post every day. I know pretty much beforehand how many likes I'm going to get, depending on the photo or what brand I'm posting. It is very and like I said, I had 1,000 followers every month for I think 6 or 7 months straight, almost to the day exactly. So I have a pretty good idea of what my middle line is, my starting point.
Yeah.
And within that, I've seen all of a sudden a month where my average likes go down 1 or 200.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, mostly my average is good, my bottom line, but the big post is where it falls, and that's definitely Instagram algorithms, because it used to be that if you had a good post, people would like it more and whatever. Instagram is pretty much continue trying to level the playing field for everyone and give the big brands, the big names, the sponsored posts the advantage. That's why they changed the way the discovery page look, the hashtags look, whatever. So you will see more and more that everything gets smoothed out, and you have the paying and the big brands that will pop up more. And what I will see with those changes in the algorithm is that I have periods where I constantly have, when I do a really good photo for mostly a popular brand or a designer or whatever, it will reach above 1,000 likes. And then all of a sudden, for 2 months straight, I can't hit that anymore. I can't reach it anymore. And that can be very frustrating. And I had a period where I felt frustrated about it, and it worked, it didn't encourage me to try harder, because I knew it doesn't matter how good my photo is or how well written my review is, it's not going to reach it anymore.
Yeah.
And you really have to let that go. And you can't stare blindly at the numbers. At the end of the day, within those fluctuations, you're still going to talk to the same people. You're still going to interact with the same community, whatever. It's just those people on the fringes that you don't even know exist, to be completely honest with you, that all of a sudden don't see your post anymore. And it's really happening. I know people talk about shadow bans. I don't know exactly how it works sometimes, but I have 3 accounts. I have my own account, my personal one. I have this one, my no notes, and I have an old one from a website that I used to have. And on one account, when I post on my notes, my personal account, I always see that post first. I follow that, I see that first, whatever. On the other account, even though I don't interact with anyone, I don't use that account, I don't see my notes posts. It's not showing up anywhere. I have to go to the page. So for some reason, Instagram just does not show that page there. There's nothing you can do about that. Just find your challenges elsewhere. Find it in building that community and interacting. Find it in improving your photos. Find it in getting more interaction. That's, I think, if I look at my page, people always say, "Oh wow, you got a lot of followers." And I like the analytic part, but to be honest, I don't really care, because my followers grew from 1,000 to 11,000, and my likes maybe doubled on average.
Yeah. So how's that? Yeah. Exactly.
So in an exponential of 10, my likes only doubled. And I don't really care about that. I just find it interesting to dive into those details. But what I'm way more proud of on my Instagram, if you look at my engagement rate, the amount of comments, the amount of just the DMs, if I can hardly keep up some days.
Yeah.
I think that is saying way more about my page than those 10,000 followers do. To be honest, no matter what I've done with my photos, I would have reached that 10,000 eventually. I started to grow pretty much instantly. It grew very much, but that would not have given me the same account as I have now. And I think that is way more valuable. And that's what I try to tell people when it comes to this growth thing, is look at it from a social standpoint first, look at it from a community standpoint, and challenge yourself. You want to make certain posts, you want to make certain content. I'm very happy to have always, kept my integrity with my post, to also sometimes be negative or whatever, and critique things, and not just be, how you say it, just go with the flow with everything, and if I didn't, then sometimes things may have happened a little sooner or a little faster or whatever. But you have to believe in yourself and know your strengths. Just keep doing what you do best and try to improve that, instead of trying to look for ways that don't fit with what you're doing. And that's what that's other people. Those people are the ones that quit eventually, that burn out, or at least lose the enjoyment of doing this.
Yeah.
And if you stare blindly at those numbers, then Instagram algorithm is one of those things that will ruin your enjoyment, because it will happen.
Don't get too hard on it. There are some tips. John's put a question there. How is it some grow massively and the rest of the community hit a plateau, or is the answer really the obvious answer? It sometimes is, John. There are some accounts that will be buying followers, and you will know. You've only got to click on any person's Instagram page and look through their likes and see who's liking the posts. And if you aren't following those people yourself, if you're not following, there's one page, I'm not going to name any names in this stream, but there's some that know who they are.
Ask me in the DMs, I will tell you.
There we go. Yeah, ask in the DMs.
I won't bring drama to Tony's page, but yeah.
No, you can ask in the page, but there is an easy way to tell if people's buying followers within our community. And all you've got to do is click onto one of the photos, click the likes and who's liked. And if there's only 5 or 10 people that have liked it out of 500 likes that you personally follow, especially with John, with 7,000 following people, he's following most of the community. Click on it, and if you're still not following all those people, it's pretty obvious they are buying likes and buying followers. Don't get too hung up about it, is what I would say. It is frustrating, and it was one of my topics, but we might as well bring it up. It
happens.
It happens.
Yep.
What I would say is, the cheater doesn't always win the race. So you can go and buy those followers, and it might get you some interaction early with some brands, for example. But
that's the main issue. The brands should really start to look into it.
They should look, and they should look into it more, because that isn't fair that people that really are caring about this community and want to bring you content, and a brand will go to somebody else that has had no interaction with anybody. Their audience is fake, and they're posting a bottle of their pitch that they've got. That is a little bit of a kick in the teeth. Not me personally. I genuinely don't care. But it is.
But the brand should at least care for themselves, you know. Yeah.
It's not fair. They should do the research. But it's not okay long term. Long term, you'll burn out. There's only so long you can buy likes and followers for before it becomes too expensive to do, and before Instagram will actually just find you out and block your page.
But people know too. People are starting to catch on more and more. You know, it's becoming more and more evident to some people that it happens. And you know, like you said, those people don't get the interactions. Maybe some might have successfully jump-started their page from that. I don't think that's something you should do. But you know, like you said, I personally can't leave sleep over it. I just wish that brands at least should do a little bit of research before they send out bottles or whatever. But you know, not for me personally, but for themselves, and also for other people in the community who, you know, deserve to have that instead of those fake accounts or whatever. But it will happen. And I think what John also says, and that's the other side of the coin, is some people seem to hit a plateau. They just can't grow. I had one person in the group that I created that does excellent photos, who has been consistent, who pretty much does all the things that I do. And for some reason, he can't get past a certain point. You know, again, that could be Instagram's algorithms, you know, that are for some reason not showing that account properly. And it's also, I think, a bit of diversifying. You know, if I look at my page, I have most people come for the photos. You know, the photos draw most people in. But then I also have a small group that read the captions, that come for the reviews. And some come for the interactions, some come for the giveaways, whatever. You know, that there are people coming from different groups. And also I think I post, which I'm also just blessed because I get a lot of those bottles, you know, but that also enables me to do a lot of different things. You know, so I have a lot of new things sometimes to show, a lot of brands that people might not know, but also some popular ones, some designers, mostly niche lately. But, you know, that's also a thing. If you make great photos and you think, oh, you know, I have the same quality of photos as Brian, so I'll be at 10K by the end of the year, then you at least also have to do all those little things. And you also have to have that diversity in your post and at the end of the day, put that time in, and everything you put in, all those aspects, you will get at least some of it back, despite what Instagram algorithms and whatever may plateau your page to some point, but you will get results of that. But again, that should, if you I think if you're not doing that now, if you're now comfortable with being on Instagram half an hour a day at max, then you shouldn't be thinking about this. Then you shouldn't be thinking, oh, you know, I want 10,000 followers, I'm going to be on Instagram 5 hours a day. I would only justify that if you think you're going to make money of it enough to quit your job or whatever, but that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. So, you know, if you're not already comfortable with that, then don't do it. I love my photography. I like spending time on Instagram, online. I like the social networking thing. I've always done that, you know, so for me, it feels natural. And of course, there are some aspects that you do specifically to grow your account and some structuring, but for the most part, this is what I would have been doing anyway. And if you're not comfortable with that, don't do it, you know, and that's with everything, you know, the photography as well. Yeah. If you like that, invest in it, put time in it. If you don't like taking photos, then don't go invest in a camera and learn how to use it and take photos to grow your account. You know, just do what you want to do.
What I would say, though, is on that is Andreas has put a thing, and I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit here. It doesn't necessarily mean I disagree with Andreas or John, for example, but is it not okay to be a massive part of the community and be passionate about it and give as much back as you can and still want to grow your page?
Yeah.
Is there anything wrong with that? I don't think they're personal.
I think I have a good answer to that as well. Like I said earlier, it enables you to do things. I love fragrances. I bought I think I spent like 2,000 euros at the start to build a collection. And I didn't have any money left. Yeah. And if I hadn't grown my page, if I didn't have those followers, then I would have had 25 different fragrances and some samples to show for by now, instead of having reviewed 100 different ones. And I gave away maybe 5,000 euros worth of bottles by now. Yeah. I did a charity fundraiser, which I would have never done if I didn't have that. So actually, and this is another thing, I bought my camera to do this. I invested a lot of this aside from the time. So, you know, it isn't about the followers, it isn't about the number, but if I would have not had any of that, if I would have 100 followers and no, then I wouldn't have expanded my photography skills, which I might use for a lot of things in life, you know, later, whatever. And I wouldn't have the knowledge of the fragrances that I have now because I wouldn't have smelled them. You know, I wouldn't have access to certain fragrances or brands or whatever. So, you know, for one, I personally, like you said, is it bad on its own? I don't think so. I like to be competitive. I like the analytic part. Yeah. I don't see any problem with that. You grow in all aspects in life. You want to grow, you know, you want to better yourself on all fronts. So why wouldn't you on your social media? But aside from that, I think it opens a lot of doors and it enables you to do things. And even on the social aspect, because at the end of the day, that's, I think, what he's getting at. It's also the social aspect. I probably would not have this live with you right now if I only still had 100 followers and never, you know, got to that point where we started connecting on certain things, started doing certain things. You know, I plan on going to Exans in Milan whenever it might or may not go through, but, you know, and meet people there, meet brands, meet other people from the community. I wouldn't have even been able to go there probably if I didn't have built this account up to what it is right now. You know, so I think people underestimate how much it enables for yourself, but also for people around me. I mean, even something as little as my brother not having to buy fragrances anymore for the rest of his life because he gets the bottles from me, you know. I could not have done that without having my followers and brands noticing and whatever. So it's not just about the numbers, but it is, you know, part of the bigger collective of what we're doing.
Yeah, I think some people are more ambitious, and that's not a bad thing or a good thing. Some people want to get different things out of this. It's different, and I don't think anyone's wrong or right. I really don't. If you can do it for the love and the passion and not bother about what your growth is or your following, not look at that. But personally, I'm a car salesman. I'm a competitive person. You mentioned being competitive. I like to try and beat the algorithms, and I've got some little things here, tips and hits that I can maybe help with where I've reached a plateau like you, and little things that just more recently, this last couple of weeks, is picked up again. And there's little things that you can do. But what I'll give you an example in terms of the amount of work I put into this. As with a car salesman, I don't do too badly at it. I've been at the same place, which helps, for a long time. I have met car salesmen that want to come in and make a quick buck, and that are extremely talented at talking to people and converting a sale, and very competitive, cutthroat guys that, but I can see the way they talk to people. They're incredible. I've had to learn everything myself. I've not been coached in this way. But some of those guys and some of those people that I've worked with have lacked something. And it might not be motivation. It might be work ethic, for example. I've had some really, really talented guys that are just not prepared to put the work in, and they won't grow their sales because they're only going to do the ceiling of what they're prepared to do. Now, when you get to a certain point on Instagram, you are going to have to think of things that are going to change. You've hit a bit of a plateau. You're still getting the following, still going up. But as you said,
but it is going to hit a plateau for sure.
20K, would you say maximum? That's what I think the limit is, personally.
I think so too, yeah.
But some of the things that I found this last couple of weeks that may have helped is when things slow down a little bit, have a little refresh on who you're following. Have a check out who's out there you're not following. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't go and unfollow those people. If they're active, they're on my following list. It's as simple as that. I'll see them in my feed.
Yeah.
If I can see their post, I'll engage. So go and check out, go and have a little boost with your followers is what I would say. If things slow down a little bit, go and follow a few people over a little period of time and engage with new people is what I would say to you. That will grow your community and following slightly bigger again. So that is one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is mix things up in terms of the type of fragrances, and not just the type of fragrances, but the type of photos you're putting out there. So if you're used to doing one style of shot, I'm not saying this is right. If you just want to mix things up, try something new. Put that on there. That might shock your page enough to get a really good response from that. It might not be something you continue doing, but try something new. That's another thing I could say.
And at the very least, you make it interesting for yourself, Yeah,
exactly.
If you do the same thing and you don't see growth and, nothing changes, no matter how much you like fragrances or writing or photography or whatever, it's going to get boring at one point, doing the same thing. And yeah, try something else. Try, like I said, different fragrances. And that also indeed brings in different crowds sometimes. I know you just did an interview with Saint Salim last week. Mm-hmm. And I've been into some of their stuff and attars, and I see some comments and whatever from people that were not following me when I did the other fragrances, because it's just a little bit of a nuance, a little bit different style of fragrance again. Yeah. And indeed with photography, the same thing, just try to reinvent yourself sometimes, try to at least do something different. Yeah. You have nothing to lose, because this is another thing I want to say is people sometimes mistake consistency with doing the same thing. Whether it's frequency or what you're doing. I see a lot of people who are afraid to do something different than what they've been doing. Same thing with posting. Instagram is a very day-to-day thing. If I have a post that does really well, my biggest post maybe have like 1,500 likes, then I don't see any of that back the next day. It is really post per post what happens. So you need to be consistent on the long term. But like I said, I had 4 times I had a week ban, and I had one time where I said, I need to just take a break. Not so much that I needed it, but to show myself that I can take a break. And I didn't post for 3 days. I didn't really interact or whatever. I didn't notice a thing. If you post every day and you sometimes don't post, nothing is going to happen, so and that's the same thing. Sometimes you post something and you try something different. Now maybe that doesn't work. Then nothing is lost, mate. The next day you're going to continue with what you were doing. But you owe it to yourself to sometimes do that, I think, and to mix things up and to keep it interesting for yourself.
Exactly. So you hit on a point there and this would help the algorithm. So you hit a point, you did something different and you get a load more likes on that one post. That might bring you in 10 new followers that day. So by shocking your page up and shaking the algorithm a little bit, it might just give it a little shot where it just gives you a little boost. And guess what? It gains traction. You get traction, and that traction will go up. There are things that happen that sometimes out of your control that will make you lose the traction. Like you said, reaching a ceiling would definitely make you lose that traction. But you can still reach a ceiling and try new things. So,
but it is a traction over time. It's not a like that's what my point always about giveaways. I like doing them. First of all, my giveaways are rarely my best post. Most of the times, they are not my best post of that week. In terms of engagement or at least in terms of likes, but also the extra that I get from that, I don't see that back later. That is I say that is getting extra people that don't add to the long term. So people need to realize the difference between trying new things within the community, trying to be consistent, whatever, to pull in those people that are in the community. And that will over time, make you grow, keep you grow. And between trying to, throw in a flashbang and get a lot of follows in one day, or a post that does a lot. If you have a very small account, then I'm sure if you do a big giveaway, it will instantly get you way more followers, way more likes. But they are either people that are not going to interact with you in the future, or they are people that you would have reached eventually anyway, that are in the community. So people need to, get their heads out of the idea that there are some magic tricks to instantly grow your account. It is all about fine-tuning and adding those active people within the community bit by bit that add up over time.
Excellent. We haven't got too much long, Nigel, so hope this won't be giving you too many more evils. Just a couple more things on that one post, and I've got a couple more things to talk about then when we're pretty much done. But with the other things with the algorithms, try mixing up your hashtags. I mentioned that earlier. If you use the same hashtags every time, try mixing that up. Try posting at different times of the day.
That's a very big one, the time of day.
Because it might be that you're posting at a time. I'll give you an example of this. Nigel probably doesn't know this, but Nigel's posted a lot less frequently on Instagram more recently. And what used to happen when Nigel used to put a post up first thing in the morning on his normal routine, when I woke up and opened my Instagram page, I could tell you honestly, without foul, Nigel's post was the first one on my feed every day. Now, there'll be other posts. Why is it Nigel's? It's an algorithm thing. So Nigel got used to posting at the same time. I'd wake up, open the Instagram, and because I've liked it every time, it's probably just put it there. And that happened. So the algorithm will stop if you stop doing that. And I've liked it. Now, different people, as I open my page, it might be Marcus, it might be you. It depends on who's posted early that day, but there'll always usually be the same accounts that I'm opening to first.
There's also two things that I think are important to keep in mind with the timing. So first of all, where do your followers come from? In general, the frames community is very global, so it doesn't really matter that much, especially if you already have a bit of following. But then if I post really early in the morning, then half of the world is still asleep. If I post very late at night, then most of Europe is half asleep. So for me, usually the best time to post is late in the afternoon or in the evening, early evening, Europe times, because you have all the people from Europe that are awake, and you have all the people in America and Asia and whatever that are also awake. So that definitely is something to look for, and especially I think for the bigger accounts that already have quite a bit of following, like I said earlier, you sort of need to be doing well within the first 1-2 hours to be shown more during the day, yeah, to be higher up in the feed. So if you post very early on, then you will get most of the likes a bit later, throughout the day. If I post too early in the day, I will get most of those likes in later, but it will prevent my post to do well in the first 2 hours. And I miss that bump that Instagram gives you if you post as well, that it shows them to a lot of people. So definitely try to post at a time where at least most people are awake.
Now, this is where I sometimes post 2 a day, is that I post when I've got to find time before I start work to get the post out, and then I'll try and do one when I get home in the evening. Now, this is I don't know if anyone knows this, but I think this is on a business account. I think if you've got a business account on Instagram where you can see your insights.
Yeah, or a creator account. Both have the insight button.
They both have the insight button. So there's the insight button, just so you can see. Now, if you look, that's just one day down the bottom there. And that is Saturday, by the way. And the most popular time of interaction is at 6 p.m, it tells me. Now, what you can do is you can actually go through your Instagram on every day, and you can see on a Sunday, you can see on a Monday, I can see and it tells you how many interactions you get if you click it. And my consistent, most popular time is 6 p.m. every day. So what am I going to do? I'm going to want to try and get a post out either just before that 6 p.m. or around that time, because that's when most people worldwide will be interacting or on Instagram. Because
I think for Europe, basically you're good between maybe 3 p.m. till maybe 10 p.m. or something. You're good if you're in Europe and you do between those times. You're probably good. But if you post later or earlier, then you're going to miss out on at least one of your demographics.
Yeah. Excellent. Right, I think we're getting towards the final part of it. You mentioned this giveaway, Brian. Giveaways.
Yeah, sneaky giveaway.
We've touched on this anyway, so just very briefly, do they make a difference?
Like I said, they can make a difference for a couple of days if you're a small account. I think the only one where I felt that really did something for my page was when I reached 1,000 followers. Mm-hmm. I did a pretty big giveaway. That was my first post that had over 1,000 likes. That felt like it did something. I must have done 30 giveaways or something since then. Like I said, I don't think one of them has been my most successful post of that week. Yeah. It doesn't help me. People think that that's the case. It's not. I pay for the shipping. I don't get anything from it. It's just like I said, I get a lot of free stuff in. I try to give about half of everything that I get in, I give away. I have no motivation or no interest in putting all those bottles in my room, doing nothing with them. So to be honest, if shipping was free, I would do even more giveaways. I'd give away pretty much everything I get in, aside from the ones that I really want to have. But I try to give away as much as I can, but that's the way why you would do it. Like I said, my giveaways, of course, they get more comments when I tell people to comment. They tend to get a little bit more comments, but that's only that one moment. I can easily tell the people that are only commenting for the giveaway that I usually never see. I don't think long term you're gonna expand your account, attract new people. The people that are active in the community are going to find you anyway at one point or another. And at best, a giveaway in the early stages of your Instagram might speed that up for a couple of days or whatever. But yeah. I think even if I would give away a car or a house, whatever, then that post will do really well. And then a week later, I wouldn't notice a difference.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You keep doing it, and you sort of almost have to keep doing it to keep that following coming if that's what you want from it. So you've got to do it for a different reason. If you're doing the giveaways, it's really because you want to give something back rather than wanting to grow your page.
Speaking of a giveaway, the first one to tell me this brand, I will send this bottle, which was my secret giveaway for today. But It is not a popular brand. It's been on my page, I think, 2 times or 3 times. This one is called Gypsy Oud. So whoever comments the brand of this one wins it, but you might have to go looking afterwards.
Very kind of you, Brian. Thank you very much, mate. There we go. Who are the brand? Brian will send it to you. Thank you, Brian. Right, so yeah, I think we've pretty much touched on it. Sharing posts, we didn't mention stories and stuff, but what I would say to you is I don't do enough of that. Brian's better at it than I am. I'm learning as I go along. Try and get your post, maybe just share it. We did talk about that, Chris, earlier on. So yeah, we've covered that near the beginning. That was. I would say try and get one in your stories a few times a week as well. People do. I know my wife. I don't tend to watch the stories as much, but tends to be rather than scrolling through, my wife will click the story and it just goes through the stories, and that's what she enjoys from Instagram. So I know that's what some people are there for. So it's definitely worth putting your post in 2 places to get that the different people.
I get a lot of interaction through the stories, actually. Also a lot from brands. I share things in my stories. I tag the brands, and I tend to get a lot of interaction from those, because the brands get that notification from their stories in their direct messages, yeah, as a message. So it's easier to then reply when I tag a brand or mention them in a post, just in a post on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Then they will comment or see it as a post, right, and that will least likely or less likely end up to starting a talk in the direct messages. Yeah. When from stories, people are, even if people respond to a comment, it's usually 1 comment, sometimes 2 comments, maybe a little bit of a conversation there. But when someone responds to my story, then I respond back, and then almost automatically you're having a chat in the direct messages if it's a response that has some substance. So I definitely think stories are a good way to get in touch with people.
100%, I agree with that, and I've found that more recently as I've done it more. You talk to more people share those stories than they do posts, in my opinion. And because it appears in a direct message that they've shared your story, you thank them as the polite thing to do, and it starts a conversation. So it's a good way of talking to more people, is by sharing on stories, and that will grow your page naturally, I think. So
no, absolutely. And this is, I will say it I will say it just now, because I always get a lot of questions about the brands and about getting bottles and whatever, and I don't always want to go into it, because again, that's not what it should be about. But the golden tip that I can give people for getting in touch with brands, if you don't already have them, or if you're not a big account already, is share other people's posts, which is a fine thing to do anyway, like Tony does in his posts. I try to do it pretty much every day in my stories, try to share some other people's posts, but I will also tag the brand in that post as well. Yeah. In my own posts, but also in those posts. And it's the perfect icebreaker. I have so many brands that I've started a conversation with that way, or that, responded and said, thank you, have you smelled it yet? Or, have you experienced it yet? It's a bit of I didn't start doing it because of that reason, but it has actually turned out probably to be the main way that brands send me stuff to try out. So yeah, that's a cheeky tip for those that are interested in getting those brands active.
Great tip. And you know what? I think there's overall been some great tips from the chat. From overall, if you watch this stream, I think that some people may have got a lot from it. We're not, like we said at the beginning, we're not the biggest pages on Instagram. We're not pretending we know it all, but we can bring you our experiences. And I think we've done that. We've got out the stream what we both wanted to. One last thing I just wanted to discuss before wrapping up was in terms of, I noticed a lot of page. When you start a page, do you think it's important to think about a theme or a look of the photos?
I want to say yes, but I don't think so. I think, to be honest, I'm like that. If the things I get bored too quickly myself to do that. I want to do different types of photos or whatever, but I personally like those accounts the most. I love the accounts that have like a very clean aesthetic, that always have the same look. There are a couple, Marley Mar, L'Armoire, Perfumes. They have a very aesthetic look to all their posts.
Yeah.
And to be honest, but nobody on Instagram goes, or very rarely goes specifically to a page to look at the page. You don't often go to a profile, scroll through the profile. You see posts in your feed and you see 500 in a row. So you're going to see all styles, but and what does help is if it's recognizable, or just catches your eye. If it grabs the attention, it works, and that can be different every day.
I think that would help from a branding point of view. There might be a brand, but I'll give you an example. We both know him well, Lance. I love the style, and he's got this style that he seems to stick with. He does try different things, don't get me wrong, but the style really works for him. And he will get interaction with brands that like that style, that make you think, well, look, his page definitely works for the branding image, what we've got on our page. Let's approach him to get some photos for us. So
and definitely also for me or for people watching, Lance's photos I can almost pick out most of the time. So when I'm scrolling, I'm going to see Lance's photo and I'm going to like it. But to be honest, the people who are that involved in the community is only a small group. And I'm going to like pretty much every photo that comes up in my feed anyway. So realistically, for as far as growing your page goes, for likes goes, the most important thing is that what I always say is if you want the likes, you need to instantly see that it is a fragrance. That is if your following is existent of 1,000, 2,000 people who are there for fragrances, then if your photo instantly, without having to think or look, is a fragrance bottle, then people are going to like it. That's the reason why bottles do a little bit better than samples. I even noticed that transparent bottles, where you can see the juice, tend to do a little bit better than matte white or matte black bottles or whatever, just because you instantly see, oh, this is a perfume, this is a fragrance. And that's why I say stylistically what I think is a shame, because I love those pages, I love those photos. But if you are doing like really abstract photos and detail shots of caps or shadows or whatever, then you're going to lose a couple of likes for people that are having this bit of attention span on Instagram. They're scrolling and they don't see, oh, this is a fragrance. So if you have a bright background, contrasting photos, they will do better. Colors do better than black and white. And again, if you want to do that artistic style, abstract, really faded out pictures, for example, then please continue doing that. But if you want to get a bit more likes, then it's really as simple as putting the bottle up front, very clearly visible, and it will do the trick. Yeah,
I've got another one actually. Sorry, it just made me think of it as you're talking about this, and I didn't put it down in my chat, but it's I've had a discussion a few times with people. Is it important to you to have someone have a review with their photo?
No, not per se. I really appreciate the ones that do. I will always keep on doing it. Not on all posts, of course. I can't review a fragrance 2 times a day, but and I do think it helps. I have, like I said earlier, it's about diversifying. I think realistically, 90% of my likes come from people scrolling, seeing the photo, it's visible. Even most of my comments are because people like, oh, this is an impressive photo or whatever. But there is a core of people that do read the captions and that appreciate what I say in those captions, and I do value that a lot. And I also have a couple of people where I know they write great reviews. One of them, and I don't know how big his account is. I don't think it's that big because his photos are almost all the same from samples. It's We Are Sentient. And he writes great reviews. He writes elaborate text with great wording, great writing. Vika is one of those, Flo Solentia. She writes great reviews. So I will definitely appreciate that, and I will look for those. But no, I'm not going to act like I read 500 captions a day from start to finish either. So I think you have to be realistic with it. Do it if you like it. I think sometimes people shame people into thinking, you're not saying anything.
I think that's wrong.
I like my photography as much as I like fragrances. For me, that's 50-50 part of the hobby.
Yeah.
So I share more photos in my stories where I like the photo than I like the fragrance.
Yeah.
Because that's for me a big part of this hobby. But and if you don't care about photos, then sure, look those accounts up that write really great reviews.
Yeah. And there are a lot.
There's room for everything.
Yeah. So what I would say is, for example, I don't think people should judge. So, for example, Lizzie's just put their photos of perfumes can be found on websites. That's right. That's right. But for someone like Stephen from Prime Photography, that's his outlet. He doesn't have to write a review. People are in it for different reasons, and I don't think any of those reasons are wrong. Personally, I
really think people sometimes are a little bit delusional about people reading the captions, and that's everywhere. That's on websites. That's on YouTube. Look at the average watch times on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
People might have 10,000 views on a 30-minute video, and the average watch time is 1 or 2 minutes. And that's the same thing with my captions. I often write things in my captions, and I know that nobody reads it, or a very small group of people. That's why if you want to do a giveaway and you want it to have any success, you have to put it in the photo, because people don't even start to read the caption. So someone like Lizzie, I understand what she says. If that's what you're there for, then that's how you feel. But by that logic, then most of the posts hold no value at all, because then those 100 likes, 1,000 followers, whatever, you can scrap 90% of those. and that's what you're left with those that are actually reading your captions.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Whether
you like it or not, it is about the photos, and Instagram is, at the end of the day, a photo platform. That's if you just care about the reviews, like Lizzie said, there are websites for it. I disagree. Instagram is a website for photos. There are websites for fragrance reviews as well. So I think it's just doing what you like and looking for what you like. And true, if I didn't like photography, then I wouldn't care as much about certain accounts. And other people, I'm going to name something that I think we both have very little affiliation with. But if you care a lot about compliments and popularity and whatever, then you're going to follow the accounts that make 5 posts a day about Sauvage. And I don't care for that, but for that group of people, then that's the right demographic, then that's their page. And like you said before, we shouldn't judge, there's something for everyone. When I just started, and I can definitely see a lot of people doing that, some people are not interested in niche because they can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. And then at some point they might get interested. So there's a place for accounts that only do this or only do that. And I follow some accounts purely for their photography, and some for the reviews, and some for the interaction. It's.
I think there's many different lanes. I think, and I don't think.
I'm glad that there is. Glad that there are different things.
The lanes are not wrong. They're not going the wrong way necessarily. It's just that that's what people like. And you mentioned about Sauvage. If you post a Sauvage bottle, it will get more likes than something.
I said it yesterday. I don't have Sauvage, so but I can clearly. I know when I post Dior, I only have Dior on Parfum. Mm-hmm. That I think for my top 5 most liked photos, 3 are Dior. And in my top 10 is Dior, Guerlain, because those are the people, the fragrances people know. And Maison France Kirkjan Grand Soir always does really well for me. But I know up front that those are popular fragrances. People know those fragrances, and people will react to what they know. that I think you know this as well. You know, if you see someone post about a fragrance that you smelled or you own, you are much more likely to comment, you know, oh, I like this one, I smelled one. I might be interested sometimes in other fragrances. I say, oh, you know, I would love to try this one. But, you know, you are more generally more inclined to react if you have smelled it. So it will always be the case that popular fragrances, designers, more affordable ones, are going to do better.
Yeah. But we could argue about the captions or non-captions all day long. It says it's people are in it for different things, and John mentioned it. He had a great point in one of the lives that was mentioned, that he said that it sometimes depends on the passion. That's in any community, isn't it? It's the same as watching a YouTube video. You mentioned that all the way through. If you've got the passion about that fragrance or that reviewer, you're going to watch that review through. If you see someone's post and you're interested in that fragrance, or it might be that you like all of that person's writing and you read every post. It might be that I post something that John's got no interest in. I write a full-on review, but he might not want to read it because it's not a fragrance he's interested in. So,
of course, you have to do what you like. You know,
just do what you want. I don't think in terms of growth and what this thing was actually about, I don't think it really matters too much whether you're putting captions in or not.
Your photos matter 90% more than your captions. That's just the reality on Instagram. That you know, people might not like it, but that is the reality. But yeah, to give you an extreme, one of my favorite accounts is Duft Bunker, German fellow. He does great work. One, I like the graphic work he does, but I also like rap music, and he makes songs about fragrances. I don't even understand German, but I love his posts. So, you know, why would I care about whether or not someone puts in a caption if one of my favorite accounts I can't even understand? You know, there's something to be said for liking certain aspects of you know, no matter how far away they might be removed from fragrances, but if you come across them and you like them, then you like them, you know. That's
100%. I personally, even if it's a bottle of Sauvage or something, I often find myself, if I like the look of a snap, I often think about how much it would have meant to me for a bigger page. And I don't class myself as a big page out there. I've only been doing this for a year and a half, but I know how much, even now, if Mr. Cologne comments on one of my photos or one of the bigger pages said great snap or something to one of my shots, I'd be over the moon. And I know what that means to smaller pages, regardless of what they're posting. If I like the look of the snap and I comment, I know. So don't underestimate that, people. If people have got any influence in this community at all, let's help the smaller guys out, because how much would it have meant to us when we were new to it?
And what it comes down to for me is also like the passion, of course, and also the time and the effort invested in it. So that can come from the photo. It can also come from the review. You know, if I see someone putting in the passion, the work, the time, whether it's creating an elaborate set to make a photo or stepping their game up, you know, like Nick and Anne from Talk and Review recently have really stepped up their photography game, and I see that, and I like the effort that they're putting in. On the other hand, there are pages that I know, you know, try a lot of fragrances, go in depth, really look out for certain notes and technical aspects and whatever. And I will value those pages more because they put in that effort. But at the end of the day, that will always get you noticed more than people that, and that's, I think, I agree with what Lizzie says, is if you're just taking the same photo every day of something and you don't invest any time in it, then sure, you're not going to be, you know, an account that I think is a must have to follow and to appreciate. But it can be from the photo as well, and it can also be from the caption or for the knowledge or whatever, you know, as long as people put in the passion and the time and the effort on one of the aspects, then it's good by me.
Excellent. Well, Brian, I think we've got to 2 hours and 23 minutes.
We almost beat Nigel's stream from last week. This week.
You know what? I feel there's still lots we could cover. There's so much, and I love talking to you. We could talk for hours. If we ever meet, it's gonna be dangerous how much we can talk, because the time has just flown. It really has. Some really interesting stuff, and it's been. I think you've been the perfect guest to do this with. Really.
It was about time that I did one this. So, you asked me once before too, so it's probably my bad that it took this long. But
No,
yeah,
you've been fantastic. Thanks for doing it, and I hope you enjoyed it too, because it was a
yeah,
really
of course.
interesting chat. Really interesting chat, and we'll continue to diverse in private as we do. We'll continue to talk as we do, and it's great to see so many great pages doing great things, and you're definitely one of those. And I don't just mean from your own page point of view. I mean from what you're doing for others, because I know how much it means to people. It does.
And I think we see that in general. Like I said, we see people, and maybe that's just we now see it because we try to be actively be a part of it. But I see a certain group, a certain core in this community, really trying to step it up. You know, on all levels: photography, reviewing, integrity, community, social aspects. It's you see sort of a. I hope to at least see some sort of a maturation of this community to build together, and things like this help hopefully people to reach that point as well. And the beauty of this is that there's no win-lose situation here. If all accounts grow to 10,000, then it's not going to affect me a lot, if at all. And if it does, it will only give me the motivation to reinvent myself again, try better photos, try better reviews. So there's absolutely no way in which helping others in this community is going to hurt you, is going to take anything away from what you're doing. And that's, I think, the beauty of this, which, to be honest, is one of the reasons also, YouTube feels more competitive, because people can only watch those 20 people a day. Yeah. That's a fight for attention, to be honest. And on Instagram, there's so much, there is so little time invested in getting people to, like a post, to comment or whatever, that nobody should be afraid or competitive on a serious level between each other. Just share your passion, share your tips, share your feedback, and most importantly, just interact with one another. And the community, hopefully, as a whole, can grow.
And the community is growing. We're seeing it. The amount of new pages I find every single week, and the quality of pages as well seems, I don't know why, it just seems to go up, the quality. If you look back to my early photos, I've left them on because it's nice to see the growth. But it's a bit embarrassing when you see some of these new pages coming through. They're almost like photographic pages before they're fragrance enthusiasts, some of them. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, I don't know, they're going to be insane, some of these pages, if they start the way they have.
Yeah,
I'd just like to sort of almost justify, I don't feel I should have to do this really, but in terms of me writing captions, I do sometimes, but just because I don't write any captions, it doesn't mean I don't spend as much time on Instagram as somebody else. And just because I've got a YouTube channel doesn't mean I don't concentrate more on my Instagram page. But one of the reasons I don't post comment or a caption on every photo, I might put the notes or I might put a little caption, is because a lot of the time I'm posting bottles that I want to review, and I want to get round to reviewing them on my YouTube channel, and that's what I see that for. And if I ultimately post everything onto my Instagram page as to a whole review of what my thoughts are on that fragrance, what is then going to be the point of people wanting to watch the video as well? It's saying the same thing. So that's my justification for it personally. And I just felt like I need to say that because I don't want the judgment on why I wouldn't do that. That's personally why I don't all the time leave captions. So
no, of course. Like I said, I post 2 times a day. I'm not going to post a serious review 2 times a day. That's not possible. You don't have the time to try all those fragrances or whatever. So, I will post, I think, a couple of times a week, a more serious review. Mm-hmm. And the other times I'm sharing just first impressions when I got a new bottle in, or I pick a certain theme. I say something about the notes or a brand or a bottle or whatever. But, there's room for everything.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Brian. I think it's been a really great stream. Thank you for everybody in the chat. It's been good numbers all the way through, and it's not about that, but it's been nice that a lot of people have been interested in watching it. So thank you for taking part and commenting and being here. I will see everybody again, hopefully next Sunday. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. I will try and get a guest on again. I'm going to try and mix up a little bit of what I'm doing on my channel. I'm not just going to put mystery guests on. I'd like to do, I did Scent Salim, I've done Grow Your Instagram. I'd like to do different things. So thank you to, if anyone's got any ideas as they want to be part of a live, then please feel free to approach me and I'll be happily have a chat and see what we can do. But thank you, everybody. Really appreciate this. Hope some people got, you know what, Brian, we've helped. If someone takes one thing from the whole string,
of course, yeah,
it's a success for me. So thank you. And thanks for your input, because it's incredible to hear from someone else's point of view, especially with your in-depth knowledge of how you've grown your page. I think it's really helpful. So thank you, mate.
Thank you for inviting me. Like I said, it was fun.
Did we get a winner on that? Did you notice?
Yeah, Luminescent. Got it.
Fantastic, fantastic winner. So congratulations, Luminescence, and thank you, Brian, for that giveaway. Right, everybody, if you could stay where you are a second, Brian, if that's okay. Yeah. But thank you to everybody who's joined the stream, and we'll catch you again later. Thank you very much. Take care of yourselves.